the power of somebody praying for you. It is a truly incredible thing, particularly when your spirit is really, really surrendered. You can feel somebody praying for you. It just kind of, it moves in you in a certain way. I know my grandmother used to say, she would get a chill and she'd say, "A cat just walked over my grave." Well, the metaphysical interpretation for that is somebody's praying for you. And in my deepest, darkest hour, in my most human moments, in my most vulnerable moments, in my periods of insanity, because you do know that we have temporary moments of insanity, right? Does everybody understand that? Yeah. And sometimes they last for a month. Even your moment could be a month or a year, right? Your moment could be a month or a year. Yeah. These temporary moments of insanity. But in the midst of my insanity, I mean, when I was drooling, crazy, okay, when the medication won't working, I could call this person to pray for me. And there's never, ever, ever, and I mean, she has prayed me through some stuff, you know. People think I tell everything, but you'd be surprised. She has prayed me through some stuff that has kept me strong, kept me clear, kept me on point. And this is the kind of friend, the good girlfriend that'll look at you and say, "Girl, your butt too big for that. Take that off." Because you got to have a girlfriend like that. Your girlfriend can't let you go out with that thing too tight on your butt. Now, you be thinking you looking good and everybody talking about you. No, she got to say, "Girl, don't wear that. Take that off." You know, that's my good girlfriend. She'll tell me when the thing is too tight on my butt, when I have on too much makeup, when I ain't making no sense, when I'm just totally out of order, when I'm just being absolutely crazy. And at the end of it all, whatever the correction is, whatever the insight is, she'll say, "Let's pray." That's not why she's my best friend in the whole world. She's my best friend in the whole world because we just vibe on each other. We mirror each other. We love each other. God just created it that way. She's going to do an incredible workshop with you this weekend, so you'll get to experience briefly what I get to have all the time just for a phone call. So not only is she my best friend, she's one of the leading, I believe anyway, metaphysical teachers in Detroit, Michigan, and the founder and current pastor of the Transforming Love community. My best friend. I call her Shaheerah Madeira, but y'all can call her Reverend Shaheerah Stevens. Thank you, dear. Woo-hoo. We're going to have the panel up because this is going to be our intimate evening. We'll have intimate days too, but intimacy is nice at night, yeah? Oh, y'all wouldn't know. Oh, I'm sorry. That was just an afterthought. Again, I don't know how you meet people. I just don't. But I do remember how I met him. And it was over salsa and chips in the lobby of an Atlanta hotel. We were both speakers on a program, and I met him. And no, I didn't meet him. I ran into him again. Because it's very clear that our souls have been together for a long, long time. I'm a neurotic mother. My children will tell you. I'm glad that I didn't ruin them totally, but I really was a neurotic mother. You know, like I ironed their underwears and things like that. And I had two girls, they forever dressed in the same thing. I mean, really, they had the same socks, the same shoes, the same barrettes, the same everything. All of their clothes were folded in the same way in the drawer, and And I had a boy, and he wore Oshkosh, Bigosh, and health techs, and if he had brown pants, he had the 2 striped shirts that matched. I was neurotic. I was absolutely crazy and very possessive of my children. I took them everywhere, even when I was protesting the limited service on the bus line and decided to lodge a private protest and sit down on the ground in front of the bus. I had my children with me. And they were screaming that they were going to get killed, but I was standing for civil justice. Sit down here and protest with your mother. Oh, God. And I tell you that to say this, that I keep my children very close to me, and I always kept them very close to me. And I didn't let didn't let people get close to them. And whenever they liked somebody or when they had an affinity towards somebody, I used to look at that person out of one eye. Because, of course, you know it could be like a kidnapper or somebody. But then my beloved Jameer met this man that I met over salsa and chips in a hotel lobby. And she announced to me, you know, without a hesitation, she said, "Oh, that's my male mother." I was like, what? Now, what kind of metaphysical experience is that? My male mother. And before she ever laid eyes on him, that's what she always said to me. He is my male mother. And he nurtures me, and he teaches me, and he blesses me. And she just loved him. I loved him first, but she loved him. And I didn't look at him out of one eye. And I've just had the pleasure of being called his sister and embracing him as my brother. And now he big, he done blew up now. He done blew up. Yeah, you know, and I can say, you've seen him on Oprah. And if you've seen The Secret, you've seen him. And if you watch Larry King, you've seen him. I have his cell phone number. Because he is my brother. And he did put a ring on it. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. He loves me, and Ricky doesn't mind. Yes, he loves me, and Ricky doesn't mind. So I remember one time I did an interview somewhere, and this woman said to me, "Where did you come from?" And it was really a startling question. Where did you come from? Where did you come from? How did you get here? And this was many books later and many appearances later, but she said, so where did you come from and how did you get here? And I had never really stopped to think about it because, you know, sometimes when we start moving and grooving and when our lives start going, we have to remember the people whose shoulders we stood upon. We have to remember those who picked us up, pulled us up, pushed us along, scooted us along. So here's the story. I have lovely stories. I had a friend, still my very dear friend, Marge Battle, who worked at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, New York. And one day Marge and I were talking about just my life and how it had unfolded. By then I had graduated from college. I was either on my way to law school I was on my way to law school. And she said to me, "You need to write Susan Taylor and tell her your story, girl, because you got a story." And I said, "Susan Taylor don't want to hear from me." She said, "Don't say that. You don't know that." And I said, "Well, okay." And Marge was that kind of person that, you know, she was like my big sister. So we sat down, Marge and I, over fish and chips that we used to get from this wonderful place on Nostrand Avenue, and we crafted this letter to Susan Taylor, telling her all about my story and everything, right? And then we got paper and nice paper and stuff, and we sent her the letter. Never in my life did I expect to hear from it. Within 2 weeks, I get a phone call. Not from a secretary, but from the Susan Taylor. Now this was over 20 years ago when I was like still in the projects and, you know, couldn't speak my own name, much less that y'all mess it up. I was messing up. I couldn't say my own name, right? And she called me And she told me she was interested in what I had said and they wanted to write a story and blah, 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 blah. I was like not breathing. Okay. I went up to New York. I had on borrowed clothes. Borrowed clothes because I had nothing that I thought was suitable for me to stand in the same room with Susan Taylor. So I borrowed up this here and that there and everything. I did buy my own shoes. And went to New York, and there, larger than life, for me, single mother with 3 kids in the projects, larger than life was this woman that I had seen in the magazine, yeah? Because we all had to read Essence, right? You had to read Essence. You couldn't move. You didn't know what color lipstick to wear. You didn't know nothing if you didn't have your Essence, because you'd be out looking. You would have on a dress that was too tight on your butt. Essence kept us from looking like the pure de fool, did it not? And I walked in the office, still not breathing, I don't know what I expected. And do you know what she said to me? Come here and hug me. I was like, get a grip. So in 1988, what was that, 21 years ago? 21 years ago, Essence published my story because of this woman. 21 years ago. They sent me to LA on a plane. I ain't never been on no plane, but I ain't tell nobody that. I had the barf bag real close to my chest. To meet with B.B. Moore Campbell, one of the premier black writers in the country who wrote my story. They put me in this lovely little hotel. It's like one of those poo-poo-pa-pa hotels where you walk by, you didn't even know it was a hotel. I mean, it was like one of those things. And right around the corner from the hotel was this place called the Beverly Center where all the stars go to shop. I went in there and I spent $400 in 5 minutes. I had to go back to my hotel room and lay down. It was all too much. From one end of the mall to the other, I spent $400. Oh Lord, what is wrong with me? I wouldn't go out of my room anymore. I stayed in the room. Since that time, I cannot tell you the number of ways that this woman has touched my life, lifted my career, moved me forward, been there. For me personally, the way she's been there for millions and millions and millions and millions of women. And I have her cell phone number too. And she's got mine. And we watch her move, and we hear her speak. And we just love her because for me, she is the essence of what it is to be a woman. Miss Susan L. Taylor. She has been so good to me. There's something she wants me to do, and she keeps speaking it. I said I'm going to have to hit on her head because I know whenever she tells me to do something, it's always magic. I'll give her this one. Give who this one? Okay, I'm here now. See, they just wind me up, tell me where to go, and I go there. So this is our panel for the evening. As you know, Reverend Michael is going to be our keynote speaker tomorrow. Are they kissing back there? Why was y'all kissing in the middle of the presentation? They just busted out and started kissing. Control yourself. We are spiritual people. Susan is going to be our keynote speaker on Saturday. Reverend Shaheerah is going to do a workshop tomorrow, Living Outside of the Matrix. And she doesn't know this, but she's also going to be doing the Sunday service with me on Sunday morning. See, that's when you have your friends, they'll do anything for you, and I just use it. But now they're here for you. So my thinking was that, you could have an opportunity to share with them and get some feedback from them about what needs to be awakened in you. And how do you go about doing that? Or more important, what has gone to sleep in you? And how can you get it awakened? Yeah? or your victories. We're living in a very difficult time. I don't think this room is the size it is because we're living in a difficult time, and many people who thought they were going to get here didn't get there. Now, some did. We had some people get here from the UK. Is that accurate? Where are you? All my people from the UK. Okay, don't look around. They're not here yet. All righty. Huh? Swaziland? Oh, stand up. Look at this. Now, yes. Good for you. So you have to share something with us, but I won't put you on the spot right now. But all over the country, yeah? East Coast, West Coast? East Coast? From where? The Netherlands, that's right. Where's my Netherlands? Yes. There's a whole bunch of y'all. Yay. What are you fussing at me about?
No, I'm telling my other colleagues to stand.
Okay. Oh, okay, stand up, come on. Look at you, don't be shy. Yay. And they got them a good old seat right up front, too. Yeah. Good. And where else? Where else? Nassau. Oh, Nassau. Right. Come on, stand up. Yay. That's right across the road a piece, but that's all right. That's all right. Good. Thank you. I've been to Nassau, but I've never been to Freeport, so I'm glad it's beautiful. Is this a beautiful facility? Now, y'all just have to really pray hard tonight that the wind goes away. I've been walking around in a sweatshirt all day, you know, so don't make me have to come out there now, because if I have to come out there and I'm going to call you out, then you're going to be in trouble. So if you had an opportunity to ask anything in the world, to share anything in the world with a spiritual master, what would that be? What would you ask? What would you say? What would you do? Are you talking to yourself? She just talking to herself. The people are right here. All right. They won't talk to us. Let's talk to each other. Yes. You have a question? Oh, the man? Oh, yeah. Did you stand? You want to ask about kissing her again? No? Okay, come to the mic. It's right there in the middle of the floor.
I'm Michael Burns, and this is a great conference, and to have all of you up there is just amazing that we can participate. And I have a question that probably is on a lot of people's minds, and especially during these times and economic times. It's like, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my purpose? How do you define your purpose? We had a discussion not too long ago with my father. We always get into arguments with him because that's what he likes to do. And the younger kids in our family are saying that I'm not really interested in getting a job. I want to find out what I want to do. And I was kind of agreeing with them. It's like, you have to find out what your passion is, because you can do anything you want. But if you're not really enjoying it, you're not going to be in it that long. So how do you go about determining what your passion is? I mean, for all the people up on the dais up there, how do you find out what your passion was? So.
Thank you, Michael. And we don't mind you kissing your wife. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Iyanla had an opportunity to introduce all of us, and all of you know her, but I just want to tell her how much she has affected my life and all of our lives as well, in terms of her courage, her commitment. And Iyanla is just so very real, as you know, in terms of whatever it is that she's living through, whatever lesson or blessing that she's giving, everyone knows about it. She shares deeply from her heart and soul, and has been a star for so many people. So she had the opportunity to introduce us, and I just want to say thank you for being you, and thank you for continuing with this conference, even with the vicissitudes that the human experience is going through right now. You continue to say yes, and because of that, we get to sit here and be in love with all of these beautiful people. So thank you so much. I think when you're asking the question, first of all, I'm in agreement with you. When you're talking about when the young folks are saying, I just don't want a job, I want to discover why I'm here, I want to discover my gifts, I want to discover why I'm really here, that's very powerful. And I think that jobs are many times a way in which we finance our vision. You know, we have a job in order to pay for our matriculation we have to go through in the inner searching and the inner discovery so that we can ultimately deliver our gifts here on the planet. Whether or not, you know, that we become famous, that's not important. What's important on the planet is that our soul evolves and that we give our gifts, our talents, and increase our capacity to express who and what we really are. And so life gives us a perfect reflection of the questions we ask, the chronic questions that are constantly in our mind and our soul. The universe answers those questions all the time. So if an individual is living with the question, what is my purpose? If they're living with the question, what is trying to emerge in my life? If they're living within the question, what's seeking to escape, the universe answers that in a language in a way that we can understand. When individuals are in the thick of things, as circumstances have it at this time, they often ask the wrong questions. They often ask, why me? Why is this bad thing happening to me? Who's to blame for this? What's causing this problem? And if they ask that, if they live in that question, the universe will answer that as well, because the law is, ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be open. So whatever it is you're asking, you're going to get an answer to that. So if we sincerely ask what's trying to emerge in my life, we begin to get cues. We begin to be spoken to through our intuition. I call it the angel of evolutionary progression is forever whispering within our ear about why we're on this planet and what we are to deliver, and it will begin to speak to us. The workshop that Iyanla has me doing, I think is tomorrow, on the Discovering Our Vision, actually deals with some of the spiritual technology around being receptive to that. And everyone that has arrived here on the planet has come with the mandate to deliver their gifts, talents, and capacities. Everyone. There's not a throwback in the bunch. And so there's no one that is to just drift along. Everyone is here to deliver something. And it begins with the question, why am I here? What's trying to emerge? What gift is seeking to express itself? How is the presence of God seeking to become conscious of itself as me? If we live in that question, it answers us. And so we have to, many times individuals live on microwave consciousness. They want things very quick. And they won't spend the time savoring in that question, you know, in meditation, in prayer, on a daily basis, until even in their dream life, it's speaking to them. And then they know what it is, and they walk in that direction. And then the jobs along the way, they fund that. They fund the vision, fund our growth and our unfoldment until we're living in that, you see. And I don't want to take up all the time, but I think that's a beginning of what you're saying here. Thank you.
Yes. Now, those of you who are going to do your workshop tomorrow with Dr. Beckwith, the Life Visioning is his 6-CD series. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have it here for sale because of the customs, but you will be able to order it. And so people who have that question, you got to get Life Visioning, because he talks about that process and the stages of the process, because it's not just one thing. And also Spiritual Liberation, his latest book, which will free us from the mindsets that keep us from finding our purpose, because we're enslaved. You know, some of us are enslaved to microwave popcorn. We can't go to sleep at night unless we had that bag of popcorn, knowing it's running our hot blood pressure sky high. Shaheerah, you wanted to? Okay.
Also, a lot of times when I look at a lot of organizations that developed, your purpose can sometimes be birthed out of pain. And that was the case for myself, of growing up in a home where there was physical and verbal abuse. So as a woman, I really wanted to empower other women. And so I became very passionate because of my own pain. And, you know, we're in Detroit, and we're probably the hardest hit city in the States economically. And every week, I am ministering and counseling, really, really believing that, and knowing that divine substance has never run out. And I believe that Spirit is really trying to really get our attention, to really step outside of the matrix, to step outside of all of those programs that limit you, and as Michael said, and to find out what is this new thing that's trying to be birthed. So I just wanted to add that part in, that sometimes your pain can be what births your purpose, and then it moves into your passion.
Absolutely. Take a deep breath, because that's true. I just remember when I was a kid, I knew what I wanted to do. And I was raised in the South. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So between Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina, those school systems, and even Morris Brown in college, and B.B. Moore Campbell wrote a story about me too, but mine didn't get picked up by Essence. We were buddies.
Oh, well.
We were buddies before she was famous. But anyway, my story was about how I came to New York looking for Stevie Wonder, trying to get a record deal. But anyway, I guess that was really too dumb to believe. But I knew that I liked music. Now, but in those days, it was, the way the culture was, it was very interesting. We were taught to be artistic, so we would do artistic things, but we were always trying to go to college and to get a profession. And music was not necessarily considered a real profession unless you had taken lessons and studied, and then you would be a choir director. And the choir directors were always revered because they were so great. So I knew I could never be a choir director because I never had piano lessons and we never had an instrument. You see, so my journey went differently, but I became a songwriter anyway because it was in me. And it's in you, so the gift that is in us is in us, regardless, it's there. You know, I don't think that, I think sometimes we because we haven't been educated well. I don't mean like in terms of Mark Twain and you know, things fall apart and Chinua Achebe. I just mean that which is natural in us has been so suppressed. That's what I mean when I say we haven't been educated well. We've been not left alone, you know, to be free and to be wild, because that's where the gift is. It's in our wildness. That's what I believe. And so when we get back to the thing that we love to do, the thing that wants to be known, the thing that wants to create, and not the thing that necessarily will make us all the money. Yes. You see, that I'm not the artist that everybody knows, but the people who know the music that I have love what I do. So in the end, it doesn't matter that they printed Iyanla's story and not mine. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It doesn't matter, because what I came to do didn't depend on that. What I came to do depended on my own willingness to express my gift at whatever level it would come through, and to even be a temporary secretary, or all the little jobs I had to do along the way, just like Michael said, to fund my vision, and for us to remember that with these young people, because they don't want to work. They don't want to do mundane jobs. There are some that they'll work at a Burger King and buy a car and get certain basic things, but to be happy and fulfilled in one's purpose and what they came to do, sometimes it does take hitting the wall and going against the grain. And sometimes it just, you know, it looks scary because we don't want our children to be out here like that. You know, but they're finding it. They're trying to find it because they want to do meaningful art. They want to deliver what's really real, what really is going to serve where we are now.
And to live from their soul, not from their heads.
Not from their head. So they're really coming back, even though it looks shaky. You know, but I never invested in Wall Street. I invest in my kids. Yeah. You know, because they have the vision, they have the talent, because they were left alone. I think they may have named it a little more. But anyway, I mean, but you know, it's just like, and to give it time, you know, just because it doesn't bake right away doesn't mean that it's not worthy and it's not real. Okay.
Yes. Susan? How do I add to that?
I think, you know, the thing that we're all suffering from hurry sickness. You know, we just don't leave time for ourselves. But I think that inner listening is the most important thing we must do, Michael. It's, you know, I write about it and speak about it, and we all do. But to put yourself on your schedule. you can't hear the wisdom of the Spirit. You can't hear what we grew up knowing as that still small voice with the cacophony of the world beating at your door. We come in, we turn on the television and the radio at the same time, and then the phone is ringing, and the computer is always on, and the BlackBerry is buzzing, and at the end of the day, we're exhausted. We're not on our schedule. And the Holy Spirit is always whispering to us.
Always.
What we should be doing right now. We don't leave that space. Or let's say we must leave that space for inner listening. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about. Ricky, when you talk about pain, nobody gets to live without hitting that wall. Nobody gets to live without having your face hit the floor. Nobody gets to live without having that experience. But we've been so miseducated. Pain is information. That's all it is.
That's right.
It's information. The pain in the stomach doesn't mean live on Mylanta. It means look at what you're eating or thinking or holding. Or tears running down your cheeks means that that's not your baby. That person's not loving you. Move on. So life is always sending us. I love the way that Rumi puts it. One of my favorite poets, 13th century Sufi mystic. He says that this life is very much like a guest house, this being human is. And every day there's a new arrival. Every day there's some drama at your door. Rumi says, don't bar the door. Don't lock it. Open it widely. He says that and we're talking about in the 13th century, an army of bandits may come in and sweep all of your possessions away. If you live in New Orleans, you know that could happen. You could lose everything. But we think that if we could only have that thing, that a little more money, a bigger house, another car, or something, that life would be greater. And it's all dust. And what we're being called to do is to really listen inwardly, to understand that everything that comes our way, the most painful, shameful situation, is a gift, as Rumi says, sent from beyond. But in the quiet, we begin to understand what that is. We don't take the quiet time, so what we do is we bite our fingers to the quick, we're running around in circles, we're worrying. Worry solves nothing. But in the quiet, it's so amazing. The answers always come. The Holy Spirit is there within us, waiting for our attention. It's so simple we miss it. So you get the information. Life requires courage. And it requires preparation. You were an attorney. You took the time to go to law school and
Failed the bar twice.
and Spirit called. People must have thought you lost your mind.
I know,
Tell us about that.
By the time I passed the bar, I knew I didn't even want to practice law anymore. First time I failed it by 1 point. The second time I failed it by 2 points. And then I had to take it again. And by the time I got the scores, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to spend, I have never been arrested, and I'm not spending all my time in the jail. But this is what I knew, and this is what I came to in that quiet time, in that quiet space. A couple of things. One was growing up poor black and female in Brooklyn, New York, in a totally dysfunctional family. What I was looking for was power. And I don't care where you go, what society, the two most powerful people is a doctor and a lawyer. The Pope, he know Jesus, he got a lawyer and a doctor, The president, okay, he got a doctor and a lawyer. He might have a masseuse or a cook, but the doctor and the lawyer. So I didn't know, but I was really looking for power. And so I went to law school with the wrong intention, which is what Susan was talking about, or Michael. If you ask the wrong question, you're going to get the wrong answer. So after I went and studied and got all of this incredible information, it didn't serve my spirit. Your purpose serves your soul. It just does, I could do what I'm doing for the rest of my life for free. I have done it for free. There's still many days I do it for free. Ask my banker, they'll tell you. You know, but once I could take the money off of it, because your purpose may not pay you your salary.
That's right.
But I went to law school for the wrong reason, and so it didn't serve my soul. And I also went to prove something to somebody. You know, poor black girl out the projects, I can go to law school. Hey. But that wasn't about me, and that wasn't about God. So that's another reason it didn't serve my purpose. So many of us are doing things that we think we're supposed to do, or things our parents told us to do, or things that they said, this is all you can do. You can't do anything else based on, you know, religion or race or group or whatever. So I went and I practiced law. And when it stopped feeding my soul, I quit. And it was during that quiet time, during that period of being unemployed, I never knew that somebody would pay you not to work. Because I started working when I was 13 years old as a cashier in the supermarket. And I worked until I left law. I always had a job, 2, 3 jobs, dragging my little children along with me. But what I learned in that quiet time was that I didn't go to school to learn man's law. I went to school to learn how to think so that I could decipher God's law. So even the mistake had a purpose. Even the mistake had a purpose, you know? I could never even feel bad about the $47,000 that I spent to go to law school and had this loan now that I have to pay. And I don't want to practice law, girl. You better get your butt in that courthouse. You better go defend something. You got a bill. You got a bill. What you mean you don't want to practice law? People thought I was out of my mind. I'll never forget, I did a workshop at a Unity church in Philadelphia. And the facilitator of the workshop put me out of the workshop, threw me out, saying because people were there in the workshop were praying to have the blessings that I had, and I had them and was throwing them away because I said I wouldn't go back to practicing law. But he threw me out of that workshop, and it made me so angry that I wrote Tapping the Power Within. So even the mistake paid off. I don't care what you do. I mean, none of that did I know at that time. I was like weeping and wounded that the preacher threw me out the workshop. So, not only your purpose, but I'm going to present this to the panel because y'all are either so awestruck or I don't know what the heck is wrong with you that you won't ask the question. So there's one? Okay, well, let me ask mine first because I got the mic. I'm hearing it from there, so I want to ask it. 2 questions I'll present to you guys. Number 1, how do you know that it's God's voice you're hearing sending you to do something? Have you gotten that one a lot of times? I get that one all the time. That's number 1. How do you know? So because I want to do this thing, I want to do this thing, you know, and I'm looking at it, and it's looking like it's not working out. It's not looking like I think it's supposed to look. So then I begin to doubt that it's God telling me to do this or my soul doing it to me. So that's number 1. Number 2, how do you rise above the clutter of the dysfunction that may surround you at any moment? The clutter of it that may surround you at any moment. You know, the responsibilities, the relatives, whatever it is. Isn't that what y'all want to know? See, I told you, I heard it coming from there. I'm psychic like that. So, number 1, how do you know it's God's voice? And number 2, how do you rise above the dysfunction or the wonderful learning experience that you may be living in to start moving in your direction?
You handed me this mic.
I want to just start it, and that is, it goes back to me, it goes back to what Susan said about surrendering, making a decision, aligning, and practicing, because it is a process. And so committing to your spirituality, whatever religion or whatever that is, but committing and having that practice you're going to know. I mean, because if you're sitting and this is how I started my spirituality. It was an old-time Unity teacher, and they really said, every day you have to practice, you have to study, and then you get to know how Spirit moves through you. You get to know the voice. The Bible says, my sheep know my voice. So when you get into relationship, you're going to know. It's just like getting to know your lover. You can finish the lover's sentence. Why? Because you've been hanging out with the lover, and you know the lover. So I think it's getting to know, and to know that it's within, and practicing, and being committed to that. And so I think that answers, to me, it answers both questions.
But what about the early people? It does for the old timers, but what about the early people? Somebody who's just starting out.
Start out practicing every day.
Okay.
Meditation and prayer every day. That's the start. That's what I think.
Yeah.
They do that and they still don't know that the voice they're hearing is God's. What is that?
Yeah. It is true. You have to go back to the basics. You have to be still and you have to listen as a dimension of your practice every single day. There is a voice of the ego and there's a voice of the Holy Spirit. Now the ego is I, me, selfish. And when the things come up from the ego, you'll notice that it may be around materialism, it may be around the worldly view of success or celebrity, getting. The voice of the Spirit is different. The voice of the Spirit is giving. It's letting, it's sharing, it's serving. It's activating your gifts so that you can share them, because the gifts don't belong to you. They belong to the world, the community, in terms of you giving them. And those are two distinct kind of voices. So when you really have a prayer life, I teach people that after a while, when you're really praying, and for everybody it's different, but there's a little awareness that happens when you know that the prayer is answered. I'm not talking about the manifestation, I'm talking about an inner knowing that it's handled. Like you'll pray and you'll have an awareness, and then there's a little something that happens inside, and you know it's okay now. Now the answer may not show up for a day or a week or even a month or longer, but inside you have that awareness. A little something happens. And so that you can only get that if you're practicing. You can't get it unless you practice. You see, and it is different from the hurry up, I got to get voice of the ego. It's different. And then you learn to abide in that. You learn to rest in that. You rest in the Lord. You rest in the law of life until this inner awareness outpictures itself. Now, prayer doesn't bring the answer. Prayer is the answer. You see, prayer is communing with reality without trying to get anything from it. It is in harmony with what is, capital I-S, is what is in the truth. You're not trying to get something, you're in tune with it. And then it begins to move you. Your steps are ordered by the Lord. Your steps are ordered by that law, you see. And then you can tell the difference between that and the ego voice, which is basically trying to protect your present paradigm, your present structure, your present way of life. Whereas the Holy Spirit is always trying to expand you so that you can give more. You see, coming out of the boxes you're in, coming out of your present beliefs, coming out of your habits that you have now. So it doesn't mean that the prayer life, it makes you comfortable. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable when you have to grow and expand and become more yourself. But it's a different voice, you see, and it's not about me, it's not about mine. It's about, this gift, this something that I'm to share. I have to share it. And it's always, the voice of the Spirit is always for the highest and best interest for everybody, not just you. It's for everybody concerned is blessed when you grow. Even if people have to adjust to your growth, it's still for the highest and best within everybody. Now, in terms of the clutter that's around us, there's always, there's tremendous chaos sometimes, and there's tremendous shedding, chemicalization, releasing things that don't belong to us. Whenever there's a moment of growth in your life, everything else has to adjust to that growth. And so that it appears to be chaotic. But after a while in your prayer life, you're not taking your cues from the visible world. Your cues are coming from the invisible world. That's where faith is. It's easy to believe in something that you can see. This isn't faith for me to put this cup on this table. I can see it, I can touch it, bam, it's going to stand. That's not faith. Real faith is where I am believing in something that I can't see. You see, it's the evidence, as they say, the evidence, in Corinthians, the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen. And so after a while, there may be all manner of things going around me, but I'm living in the invisible. My prayer activates the faculty of seeing the invisible and hearing the inaudible, you see? Because, again, your eyes, your physical eyes, come from a faculty, come from a state of consciousness that has insight, so it produced an eye. Form follows consciousness. So you don't see because you have eyes because you see. You don't hear because you have ears because you hear. And so your prayer allows the inner faculties to be activated so you're able to see the invisible and hear the inaudible, so that when all of this crazy stuff is going around you, you're not reacting to that, you're responding from the realm of the invisible. That's what responsibility is, the ability to respond to God or from God. Again, it's not going to happen without practice. Pain may drive you through that door. I often say that pain pushes you until your vision pulls you. So your pain is pushing you, it's giving you all kinds of information, and then you catch a vision, the vision pulls you. But where's the vision? It's invisible. So Iyanla was talking about a young poor black girl in the projects, you see. But something else was pulling her. The pain was pushing her, but a vision ultimately pulled her to do what she's doing now. And that was invisible. Before she wrote her first book, it was invisible. And she saw it. Jamila named it.
I think we're going to have to keep a note of nuggets, because the pain will push you to the vision to pull you. Y'all need to write that down. Okay? All right? And the practice, the practice that your purpose is often born from your pain, or your pain pushes you to your purpose, yeah? And then Susan said one earlier, but we're going to have to keep if y'all hear a nugget, just holler, nugget on the floor, nugget on the floor. So that we don't, because we can get so into it that we let these little nuggets go.
But the beauty about being here this weekend is that you're talking about how to stay out of the muck. Mm-hmm. This is how you do it.
This is it.
You see, because people are commiserating with the negativity that's going down. And you're here having an opportunity to catch inspiration and to have dialogue around that, until what you're inspired by becomes more real to you than the negative conversation that's going on. Not that we don't have compassion about what's happening on the United States and what's happening around the world. We have deep compassion about people's experience. But as she said earlier, I don't remember how you said it, but abundance is still abundance.
Yeah, divine substance.
And love is divine substance has not run out.
That's a nugget on the floor. See, divine substance has not run out.
And so where is our conversation? What are we really agreeing with each other about? How bad it is, or the possibilities? That's there lies the tale.
When everybody was like in total freak out about everything that was going on, I had to stop it, because I was like getting in the freak out too. Then I had to say, Iyanla, you ain't worked there 4 years. What the heck is wrong with you? Why are you upset now? I was like, oh, that is true. And I'm not starving, There will be some things that you have to sacrifice and things that you have to give up. But I sacrificed them, gave them up, and I'm still gorgeous. Not that much change, you understand? And then I learned to rely on something else. I think the saddest thing for me that really let me know that I had to do something was when I heard the news about the man out in California, where him and his wife worked in the hospital, and they both lost their job. Yeah. And then he went home and killed himself, her, and the 5 children. Mm-hmm. I was just like glued to the television I couldn't even believe that. Mm-hmm. And I never watch the news. I don't watch the news, but I was scrapbooking, and the ER went off, and I couldn't get up in time to flip the to get to the thing. So I accidentally heard the news. But even that was divine, because what I did was I created a 7-week program called the seven Steps to Personal Change, so that we could understand, because people were like freaking out, and I'm like, wait a minute, do you still have a job? Yeah. Are you making the same amount of money you were making? Yeah. I said, so your economy hasn't changed? Why are you upset? That's what I had to say to me. My economy did not change. It's still reliant on divine substance.